Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm very happy to have with me Mr. HellHades, who has not only graced me with his presence today, but did so yesterday. And yet again, I have a history of recording very well. I considered bringing J-Gigs to dub over you again, sir, but I elected instead just to see if we could get you back on for to talk about the Clan Boss draft. So thank you for making the time.
Last time when J-Gigs came on, it was a really funny video. So maybe you should just cover that again. But anyway.
Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on again. You know, we just finished the Clover Clan Boss draft, which was I had a lot of fun with it. Actually, I had more fun this time than I did last time. All the hard choices and stuff. I really liked the banning phase. How did you feel about the draft as a whole? Like just the experience of it this time?
It's actually really tough. Yeah, it's really tough. Obviously we're live. We're doing it there. We've all got our own kind of plan or kind of ideas around what we want to do. And then either one of us is kind of throwing a spanner in the works for someone else, or chat come and ban a champion away, which you kind of wanted. And it's really tough. It's quite in the moment when, you know, we know this game pretty damn well, but it doesn't mean that we know everything about it. I don't know if I made the right decisions, but I've at least come away with a team. So it's a start, you know?
I have a team. This is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy? Have you come out the other end and you're feeling like, yes, this is what I wanted?
You know, it's so funny. Like the first time we did the draft, right? The very first draft a year ago, I was pleased. I was like, yeah, this is the team. I know what I want to do. I have a couple, spots where I could make some changes and choices and have some options. This time I left and I haven't been that frustrated in a long time. I was like, I effed this whole thing up. I felt like I had the best start, and then I effed it, and then I effed it all up at the very end. And it was such a, but it was in hindsight, it wasn't like I screwed things up that much. It was more that you guys made amazing picks to completely stop me and stuff me in my tracks.
Didn't we?
Yeah. It was not. I thought you guys were my friends. I learned quickly that you're not. It's cool. But it was really interesting. Like it was draft strategy kind of came into play, and I wasn't expecting that in the way that it went down. So like it definitely shocked me. I mean, what was your when you were going through, what was like the picks that really shocked you, or was there anything that like really like threw you for a loop when we were going through it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really shocked by Cold Brew's early pick, the White Dryad Nia. Not that I actually had her on my list as a champion that I really would have liked to have picked up at some point, but definitely not as early as that. I actually kind of saw a more of a niche pick to go along with certain champions rather than like the first one on the board. So that one threw me a bit. And then I guess even right at the start was kind of going into draft mode, and I really expected YST to block out Maneater or Skull Crusher. So I decided not to. And I obviously came in with Seeker, who's going to be a big champion anyway. But then you picked up two absolute god champions, round 1 and 2, back to back. And from that moment on, I was just thinking, wow, you've got such a good start here. Like, we're all struggling compared to you. The chat can only ban one. And, it felt like it was a colossal mistake, actually. But I don't know. On reflection, any of those first picks would have been big. So, but it was more towards the end, I'd say, like round 4 onwards, where we've all started to get similar pieces, or we're all missing 1 or 2 pieces, and it then starts to be like, who's going to get the better option for the same type of job? And that's when it starts to get really tough. People were picking out Godseeker, and I was like, Godseeker's who I wanted, and then I wanted Sandlash, and Sandlash had gone, and it just it started to get down to like, who's left that I would need.
I really felt like I kicked that off when I took Archmage Helmet, because at that point you're committing what kind of team you're running. You're bringing a speed champion, right? That's a pretty big commitment. And then literally like 3 of the next 6 picks were like all buff extenders, right?
Everybody started going that path. Because when you picked Archmage, I almost made the mistake. No, I think I did. I think I went with a speed champion as well.
Yeah,
I did. I went with Clod.
You immediately pick Claude, which I was like, that's a great pick. It's a great speed champion, right? He brings a lot of stuff. The speed buff, the increased accuracy is nice. The shield is nice. You know, there's a lot of things. Decreased crit rate's not bad either, really, when it comes to clan boss. So there's a lot of stuff to like.
Because I was thinking, like, if you've taken one off the board, and I knew really when I was thinking about a 2-for-1 speed tune without the Seeker, without the Deacon, I wanted to try and follow one that I'd done a long time ago with a Lydia speed tune. And with that one, Lydia doesn't have a turn meter boost. She's just an increased speed champion. And I knew that Claude this does that. And I was like, well, this is going to be an easy slot for something I already know, but using Epic. So I was quite keen to just get him away from anyone else. And also, you know, like you say, decreased crit rate, actually really big. It means you get rid of that anomaly crit that could just wipe you out. So
it's a big thing.
It's quite a good pick.
I'm doing test runs and I'm like, oh, that crit.
Yeah,
comes
exactly.
at the wrong time.
When you're towards the end and you're like, oh, I could have lasted another 10 rounds if that crit didn't land.
Yeah.
Todd stops that. And he's quite unique for that, actually. So, yeah, I think, I mean, there's so many picks which were good going throughout where you think, and the amount of times I actually said yesterday, oh, I was going to pick that one next. You know, the amount of times I said that, it was a lot.
Yeah. It was pretty huge, actually. It's been interesting. Are there any picks that you regret making? I definitely have. I mean, obviously, I have a couple. If you watch the draft, you know I have at least one regret. But but even before that, there's a cut. Like after I've been building my team, I'm recognizing certain things that I wasn't recognizing initially going into it that are so crucial just to give yourself the flexibility to make your team as good as you want. Were there any
my last pick marked. I kind of panic picked a little bit. I knew that I wanted an increased defense, and I was kind of quickly looking through trying to find a few options. So I'm probably going to sub out marked. I think I've got better options than that for an increased defense champion with perhaps just brings a bit more. Marked is good, but I can't make use of block buffs, which was kind of main reason that I picked it was increased defense and block buffs. So I can't use the two in the speed tune I want. Yeah, the block debuffs. Yeah, so I'm basically going to have to tank a stun and bring someone else in instead of that. But yeah, I mean, one thing, I guess it's not a regret of mine, but YST picking up Hatatsu, Hatatsu is just not on my radar at all. And what a champion, like really does that job so well, like the marked type of job. Yeah. So that was just a really big pick, actually.
I knew going into the draft, Hatatsu was definitely one of my targeted picks. I don't think I would have taken him in that round when YST did. He took him in the third round, which was such an early pick, but also such a brilliant pick because of all the things Tatsu brings. It allows you to kind of be flexible in your approach to your team, right? You're not really stuck in one way, going one way or another, but he's got the increased defense and the continuous heal, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is kind of the insane thing about him.
It's massive, yeah.
The decreased attack is nice, but it's not guaranteed. But more importantly, he's got a leech on that A1 too. So you're getting healing, you're getting protection, you're getting healing again because of the leech, and you're having a second decreased attack champion, which is a great insurance in case your primary falls down.
Need it. Like I mean, I've got Taragi with a decreased attack A1. Fane is my kind of insurance policy, decreased attack. And with these type of comps, like if you're not keeping decreased attack on the whole time, as soon as it drops off, next round you're basically wiped, or two of your people will go down. Like it's as serious as that. So you know, you just that extra kind of
Speaking of Fane, actually, that's one of my regret picks. I took an axe, and I love an axe, an amazing champion, right? It does crazy damage. But in hindsight, I'm realizing that an axe brings all the debuffs you want, but except for like the really important one, decreased attack. And I realized there were champions out there I could have gone instead. Yes, I have Grizzled Jarl. Thank goodness I picked that. But you know, one of the champions I would have loved to have taken instead of an axe. By the way, an axe is absolutely one of the best damage dealers in this game. So like,
you know, hit really hard.
It's not like it's a total regret type of thing, and I knew that going in. But one of the champions I realized I could have taken and maybe opened other options for me would have been like a Suwai. right? Somebody that we all kind of laud as a really good champion, but I just kind of left off the list of things to do. But yeah, decrease defense, decrease attack, and weaken, all on 3-turn cooldowns.
Yeah,
I think
true.
the weaken before,
lots
but
of good debuffs. Yeah. Because I was wondering with my Fane pick, I picked Fane quite early, or third round, and in my head I was thinking Seeker or Taradi, one of those is going to be banned, probably Seeker.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fane's just quite a good pick to flex. Yeah, so you can go in a lot of directions still at this point. Damage dealers, you're going to need one. And actually, I was torn between Fane and Anax as well.
I remember when you were picking and you're like, oh, there's two. And I'm like, I know exactly the two he's talking about. It's Anax and Fane. I was having that same debate in my head. I was like, ugh.
I was like, which way do I want to go? And I just remember I've not used Anax that much. And I just know that when I have, generally I use him with a block damage team because his passive can just be a bit wonky.
Yes.
And I've not had enough. I just wanted to avoid champions that would really kind of, be really challenging to use, in terms of trying to get a speed tune going or, killing themselves or all that type of stuff. Like, you don't really need that stress. I went with Fane, who was a bit more of a safe pick. But
and someone dealing with that stress currently, I fully appreciate that approach to things. Man. Yeah, that's it was I really like the Fane pick. I thought that was really good. And it also set you up so you didn't need another decreased attack champion, right? Especially when you combine it with Taragi the Frog. You have that covered. Maybe it's not as covered as you'd want, right? But it is covered at the very least. And you can at least, work around that, especially going at a 2-1 ratio. You're going to have you're going to have a chance to land those debuffs every single turn, which has been really nice.
I guess one of my regrets is, and this kind of came out yesterday when I started to build out the team, really, I don't really have a healer. And I thought Anchorite's healing was different than it is. It's actually based on the amount of damage that he's doing.
Oh, interesting.
Which is, and he doesn't really do a lot of damage. I've got to be honest here. I thought, for some reason in my head, I had Anchorite was, his kind of heal was a bit more based like a Godseeker heal, based on HP and that type of stuff. And actually, when I look at my healing, I've got a tiny bit of healing from Claude, a bit of healing from Anchorite. Taradi kind of heals himself, and Fane heals herself a bit. But all of it's just kind of like, it's not healing. I don't class it as healing. It's like there's a little bit of healing going on. But I don't have a leech. I don't have, so I've definitely got to think outside the box in terms of how I'm going to keep these people alive.
It's a challenge, man. Like that has been one of the biggest challenges I've had. I keep wanting to, it's so funny because, you and I have been doing this for a long time. And I learned most of my clan boss stuff from watching your videos before I started doing this. And so like our approach to this is very similar, I feel like. And one of the interesting things for me is how, well, yes, speed is key. Speed is king, always is. Yeah. And getting more attacks will work. But the basis of a solid clan boss team hasn't changed that much, in that you want as much protection as long as you can for like the entirety of the fight. And so things like increased defense and ally protection, making sure that you have that on your champions for the full fight is such a difference maker. And then you forget about the healing as a part of that. So it's like, I find like, to be able to bring in enough increased defense, enough ally protection, and enough healing on top of trying to go at a fast enough speed where you feel like you can do the damage you want to do is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because pretty much like 2 of your 5 are 2 which make the speed tune happen. That's basically in nearly every, certainly with epics only, in nearly every team, it's 2 out of the 5 make the speed tune happen, and most of those don't bring any of the other key components that you like. So most of them don't bring the decreased attack. So all of these debuffs you want, that type of stuff, they just don't.
Especially in the epics, right? In the epics and rare, you're not going to find that stuff in there. When you start going, this is why the legendary not having that was such a big impact, because we weren't the flexibility of building our teams, the style of team that got nerfed a lot as like, well, how are we going to do this? Yeah. And if we go with these fast teams like you and I are trying to do, well, where do we get all those debuffs and buffs coming in?
Yeah, and I'm finding it a real struggle. So I've done a couple of runs already. I've got a speed tune that's kind of working, which took some fiddling around with, honestly, because like you said, you're trying to get really good coverage of all of your buffs across all these different turns. So, I want to increase defense on as many people as possible, ally protection, all these type of things. I need it to happen for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's tough in itself. And then you've obviously got to get your damage away as well. And yeah, I'm just finding that I'm having to change my speeds around a lot. I'm having to change my slots just to see if it gets me a better result. Because at the moment, not really happy with the numbers. Like, they're not coming out where I want them to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be a tough week.
Brother, I feel you. I had to get real creative. I have to say, I'm very thankful that I took Archmage Helmet, because his unique abilities kind of have enabled me to do some really interesting speed tuning with him. Thankfully, I can use all the gear on my account as well, which was kind of like a factor in the back of my head of like, I can put crazy speeds if I need to on at least a couple of these champions. But it's an interesting.
I think this is where you realize massively that gear starts to become so important compared to champions. We say it a lot. I see a lot of messages, I can't do this because I don't have the champions. Actually, it's because you don't have the gear. Like, if you could upscale your gear, most champions can do a good job. And obviously there's better ones at certain roles, all that type of stuff. But ultimately, if you've got good sets, and I'm not talking about, I've just got good speed gear. I'm talking about a lot of the other weird and wonderful sets that actually start to do something for you. Like, they start to enable these teams. And that's where I find this sort of thing quite interesting, because I'm like, well, how many people do I want in a certain set? How many people do I want to kind of add more layers of protection and all of this type of stuff, which, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do. It's also, it takes a lot of time to kind of perfect that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I was on stream last night. Sorry, I was on stream last night, and YST comes into my chat a couple of hours in. I've built like 3 of my 5 champions so far. He comes in, he's like, just done a couple of runs. I'm really happy. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Really happy already? I haven't even built 5 champions yet. So yeah, it's I guess it begins already. Yeah,
it's okay. You're doing the carpenter thing, my man. You're measuring twice before you cut. That's the way you're supposed to go.
True.
I mean, I feel that same thing. I was up last night. God, I was exhausted after the stream. Like, I couldn't sleep the night before because I was nervous about everything going well, right? And then I woke, and I got up early to like 5 a.m. to get ready for everything and do it all. And then I crashed during the day. I was planning on coming on your stream, and I crashed. But then I woke up, in the evening, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I better. I know everybody. I'd seen everybody's kind of started working on their team, so I was like, I guess I better start working on this team. I was gonna work on other stuff. And I immediately knew I was in a lot of trouble, but I spent, I don't know, a few hours just literally. I have my D&D game that night, and while we're all trying to pretend like we're these crazy heroes in this fantasy world, I'm over there, like, as I'm doing that, I'm also looking on the side going, okay, like, how can I, if I move this speed here and I do that there, so like good 4 or 5 hours just on the calculator, trying to find the right speeds and stuff to make something that's passable. Well,
I've kind of been doing the same. So I've got my team to where I thought it was in a good spot last night. Got some builds done. Did my first kind of, not a full run, just the start of a run on stream. Sure. I said, look, I'm not going to do a full run. Don't want to give too much away. But the stun started just landing on the wrong place. In the wrong place. And I was like, oh no.
Immediately Google's HellHades live stream. You said it was a
from that live stream is it didn't work.
Oh, okay. It was a terrible start, you said? Really?
Well, just like the stuns were just going in the wrong place. And pretty much in my team, there's only one person who's allowed to be stunned. Otherwise, it all goes out of sync. So, yeah, I've had to kind of just go back into the calculator, like try and work out why is it going wrong, try and fix it, move people around, change gear again. So, yeah, it's change masteries. Like it's pretty full on. We're getting there.
Ooh. There's so many things to kind of keep in mind when you're building these teams, and I think that's a fun part of it, right? Is like, how do we balance all of these things How are we going to do that? And I've been enjoying it a lot, but obviously it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Well, I don't want to keep you here for too long. Obviously, I've already kept you here twice now, so we're going to cut this a little bit shorter than I might normally do. But I'm real excited to see what your team's going to do. I think personally that you're one of the favorites in this. I think right now you or YST probably has the edge as far as which team is going to win this thing and put up the most damage. That's just my personal opinion from the outside looking in, but I guess I'm the inside looking in. But
I feel like I don't know if that's true. I think YST's got a very solid team, can do some big things. We know that Geo can do some work even on Void.
Mm-hmm.
I think that your team potentially, in terms of damage, has got a lot of hitters, and Skull Crusher, which gives you more hits. So I'm nervous about your team more than anyone's, I'll be honest. And I tell you what, Cold Brew could end up being a real sleeper here, because what if he starts to find a speed tune that works with White Dryad Nia and starts to get someone like Liburger just doing crazy stuff, doing crazy resets, or using Nia to reset Runekeeper somehow to get his speed tune going, and then he's got Strengthen, and he's got passive from Venomage to take less damage. Like those things together, it's 25% less damage coming in. I don't know, man. I feel like the one who needs a bit of a sub out is Nubs. I can't see how he's getting to a 2-for-1 speed tune with what he's got at the moment. But again, if he does, then Dark Kale does a lot of work. I don't know. It's wide open for me. It's wide open.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all boils down, because I think I'm not underestimating, I don't think everybody's on my list of like, I'm a little bit concerned about what could happen here, right?
I feel like everyone's got a good draft, really.
All these teams are definitely going to be, I think pretty effective. But yeah, and the fact that you can sub in a champion, that can really change the entire complexion of a team. I know I've already made my substitution, and it's completely changed the complexion of my team. Yeah, it's balanced things out. It's actually, I'm able to deal with the stun in a way I wasn't expecting to be able to deal with the stun. There's some changes happened, and I was like, oh yeah, this works. And I've kind of peeked at some of the results of your team, and I know like who you're subbing in. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a really nice maneuver too. Like, definitely, I think going to make a big difference for you as well. And so that I feel like can really change it. And when you have teams like Cold Brew and Nub that haven't really shown their hand, there's a lot of potential. And and you're right.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see something quite interesting on Friday, because they will change. Both of those teams will change. I think, see, with only one champion, but like I say, one champion can completely change the way a team looks.
Totally. I'm just waiting for someone to bring in Apothecary or Tagor or somebody. I feel, God, I can't believe I didn't pick him. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to see at least one, a speed champion pull in probably for Nub's team. We might see one for Cold Brew, which could be really interesting. Well. So it could change completely. Well, I'm very excited. Guys, those of you watching, three things. One, go subscribe to this guy's channel. If you haven't done it already, I don't know what's wrong with you. Clearly you're very new to this game. You want to go subscribe to his channel, most prolific of all the CCs here as far as putting content out for you guys, and it's always on point, very helpful. He's who I followed before I started. Second thing, if you are wondering like what's the latest video, what's the latest article, because I'm actually in the middle of writing an article on the draft today, and I'm going to try and write one on each team and all the stuff leading up to the final draft. Go check out my website, DeadwoodJedi.com, where we have a full page for this stuff set up there. So you'll see the latest videos that I'm putting out on it. You'll be able to check out all the teams, the competitors, all that fun stuff, and find their contact information. And then the third thing is, don't forget the draft. We're going to be live here on YouTube.
Oh, yeah,
4 p.m. UTC on Friday. We had, I think, 1,800 people at one point in the chat. I think 5,000 people came through during the event, and I'm real excited. So like Friday, we're going to blow those numbers away. We're going to be giving out thousands, and I do mean thousands of gems to all you guys. Every winner is going to be able to give out some stuff. So we're going to give out a bunch of stuff in the chat during the stream. So definitely want to come by. It's going to be exciting. Hades, thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out. And
no worries.
Good luck to you, sir.
And to you. And I mean it.
Cheers, man. All right, man. Guys, thanks for stopping by. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.